whoever we are, whatever religion we belong to, or we may have no religion at all, we all live in this world. We all have the same human experiences. We are all born, we live, and eventually we'll all have to die. As King Solomon says in the Book of Wisdom in the Old Testament, I too am a mortal man like others, a descendant of the first human being formed from clay. My flesh was molded in my mother's womb during a period of 9 months, compacted with blood, from the seed of man, given in pleasure, the companion of sleep. Once born, I breathed the air common to everyone. I fell on the earth like everyone else. My first cry was like that of any other infant. I was nourished, cared for, and wrapped in swaddling clothes. Indeed, no king began life differently, for there is but one way into life for us all, and one way out of it, and that is our human experience. And God is not seen by anyone. Whether I believe in God or I don't believe in God, none of us can see God. Why not? Because He's not part of this world. He is the cause of this world, but He's not part of it. He's not another thing, someone mighty, powerful person. No, He is the being who must exist. God has to exist, because unless God existed, there would be nothing at all. Nothing, which is the total negation of being, the total absence of existence, cannot produce anything. And so, if there was once nothing, then there would always be nothing. But there is this world in which we are living. And the world asks the question, raises the question for us, where does the world come from? Who is the cause, or what is the cause of this world in which we live? And the world is a miracle. It's amazing. And scientists will tell us, you take a spoonful of soil from the forest, and in that small spoonful of soil there are millions of living creatures, being born, reproducing, dying. A whole universe in a small spoonful of soil. It's a miracle in itself. And we needn't look into the world. We can look into our own bodies and look at our heart, how it works. There are thousands of people who spend their whole lives studying and trying to discover how the heart works and how to correct it if it goes wrong. It is such an intricate and delicate instrument. And likewise, even more so, you may say, the brain, which is in our heads. It is itself so amazing that it can think, it can create poetry, it can create music, it can invent new things, it can understand. And how does it work? It is so intricate, beyond our understanding. Science has not yet been able in any way really to understand it. To go out into the night and look up into the sky and look at the stars and see there are more stars in the night sky than there are grains of sand on the seashores and the deserts put together. Scientists tell us that there are trillions of galaxies, not just one or two, countless galaxies. And the size of the universe is so huge that we will never, ever get to the end of the universe. We may send probes into space, and our minds and our brains are able to work out and fashion a rocket that can go into space and may even travel several years into space. But we will never reach the edge of the universe as we even know it today. Why not? Because scientists tell us that if we travel at the speed of 300 kilometers per second, that means, while I have been just telling you, we have traveled some 600,000 kilometers at that speed. To get to the edge of the universe will take us 46 billion years. Our mind boggles. We cannot understand this distance, the size of the universe in which we live. And yet all this is hanging together with the utmost precision. So much so that we are given a myriad of sciences. Men, the most intelligent of men, studying and trying to work out how this universe works on its macro level and on its micro level. We live in the midst of an amazing miracle. And we can say, as we look up into the night sky, it all just happened. Just like that. Without rhyme or reason. Just pure chance. That we can say that, but it doesn't really convince us. Because if you take the letters of the alphabet as we have them in games like Scrabble and other games, and you throw them up into the air, you can throw them up 1,000 times. Will they ever come down in a coherent sentence? Do things, has the universe just happened by chance, that it is so intelligible that we can have so many individual sciences? And so we can understand what the psalmist says in the Bible. The heavens declare the glory of God. And here the glory of God is the glory of the one who is responsible for this universe, for this intelligible, vast, and so complicated and intricate universe. The heavens declare the glory of this being, and the firmament proclaims the work of his hands. Day pours forth speech to day, night hands on the knowledge to night. There is no speech, there are no words, their voice is not heard, but their voice goes out throughout the world. Their message is felt to the very ends of the earth. And so, if we have eyes to see, then we will realize that there is a being who is responsible for this world in which we live, and indeed responsible for us too, because we are part of this world. And this being, we don't know much about him. We cannot see him. He doesn't belong to this world. He's not part of the world. But he is intelligent. We use the word he for the sake of convenience. He is intelligent because the world is completely intelligible. And because we believe it is intelligible, that we can understand it, then we can have sciences which try to discover how the world works. That is the aim and object of science, to tell us how this world in which we are living works, how our bodies work, how to correct our bodies when they go wrong. This is the object of science. And the one who is responsible for all this must therefore be an intelligent being. And he is a being who is able to decide. He decides to create. He decides to make this universe. And therefore he is some kind of person who is conscious of himself and is unique in himself. And he is the being, and he has the power to create out of nothing. Because there was nothing. There was no thing which he used to make the universe. He needed to create it by the power of his own word. And so he is an intelligent and an all-powerful being who has decided to create this world. And if we have eyes to see, and we will see the world as a miracle in which we have found ourselves existing. And everywhere we will see God's wisdom and God's power and God's love revealed. Let's take a break now. Welcome back. We use the word God, you know, but this word is a dangerous word to use, really, because we all use the word God, but what you understand by God, I may not understand. We all have different ideas about God. Some people don't like God. They don't want God. And if God exists, I don't want anything to do with him. People speak like that. You may feel like that too. Why? Because you may feel God is oppressive. He puts me in a straitjacket with his laws and with his threats of punishment and with his eternal punishment that he metes out to those who oppose him. If there is God, there is no freedom, you might think. And other people think, God, unnecessary. That God was a God, okay, in those days when people didn't know anything, yes, and when people felt so insecure in the face of nature. Yes, okay, they could believe in God. But we now have come of age. Science now is the way ahead. Science is going to tell us the answers to all our questions. And so we don't need God. I can manage without God. So we all have different ideas about God. And some people think God is the God of love. And God is so kind and so merciful that whatever I do, He'll forgive me and I'll be all right. And so we must clarify what kind of being God is. And if we want to know about God, then we turn to the Bible, which is the Word of God. It is in the Bible that God has revealed Himself to us. But here again, the Bible is a dangerous book to read. We can't just open the book, the Bible, and begin to read. Just like we open the newspaper in the morning and we read what happened yesterday, that there was a terrorist attack there and there, or there was the opening of some great event in this country or that country. When we read the newspaper in the morning, we expect it to tell us what happened. And if we open the Bible in the same way, we might try to read it as we read the newspaper, as if the Bible was written in the 21st century by someone living in this modern age, in this modern culture. When we come to the Bible does contain the revelation of God. The Bible does tell us who God is, at least in as far as we are concerned. No one knows how God is in Himself. God is beyond the universe, beyond, not in space, but He is totally other, totally different from the universe, because He is the cause of the universe by the power of His Word. So we don't know how God is in Himself. We only know, the Bible tells us, how God is in relationship to us. But there again, the Bible is not written by God. We might think that the Bible somehow or other fell from heaven. No. Every sentence in the Bible is written by some human being. And so every sentence is conditioned by time and place. Someone, somewhere, at some time, living in particular circumstances, wrote the Bible. They wrote according to their own experiences, just as you and I would write if we were to write today. We would write according to our experiences. We would write according to our culture. We would write according to our way of speaking and writing. Likewise, the people of 2,000, 3,000 years ago wrote according to their experiences. And we all have our own prejudices, you know. There is no one without prejudice. We all have our ideas which we accept somewhat uncritically. We need to examine them to see whether they are true to reality. And so each one, the whole Bible is written, conditioned by time and experiences of the people who wrote them. And they all wrote with a particular purpose in mind. They didn't just write, they wrote with a purpose in mind. We should know their purpose, and we should know their experiences, because they write out of their experiences for people who have similar experiences. And so we need to go into the background of the Bible. What we have in our hand is the Bible, and that is all. Where this Bible came from and how it came into being, we have to investigate and try and discover in order to understand what the people have actually written and why they wrote it and for what purpose. And some people will ask us, is the Bible true? Well, that question, you know, has no meaning, really. It's like as if you go into the library and you see racks and racks of books, and you say, is this library true? And people will say, what do you mean, is this library true? There are history books in this library. There are poetry books in this library. There are fiction and non-fiction. There are romantic books. There are philosophy books and books of wisdom. There are epic stories, epic poetry. There are books of sagas, lyrical poetry, didactic poetry, drama, all kinds of different sections in the library. So we can't say, is the library true? Is this particular book a history book, or is it a book of poetry, or is it lyrical poetry, or teaching poetry? Is this a historical novel? All different kinds. And we must ask, what is this particular book? And then we can ask, does it tell us the facts? What is it telling us? And the Bible is a library. We have put it into one book. We have made it into one book, but it is written by many different people in many different parts of the globe, and at different times, under different circumstances, and for different purposes. All different little books. And there is fiction and non-fiction in the book. There is history, and there are epic stories in the Bible, and prophecy in the Bible, factual history in the Bible. All these are there in different books and in different ways. And therefore, when we open the Bible, the first thing we must ask is, what is the nature of the book that I am reading? Is the book of Genesis an actual story of the beginning of the world, actual history of the beginning of the world, or is it a poem proclaiming God as creator of everything that we see? We must study the Bible. First of all, we must see that the Bible is a library of different books put together, and that each books are of different kinds. There are stories in the Bible, epics in the Bible, all different kinds of books of the Bible. And the Bible has come out of the experience of the Israelite people. The Israelites had their religion, they had their idea of God a long, long time before the Bible was written. The Bible is the result and the expression of their faith in God. It is not the cause of their faith in God, it is the expression of their religion. And why did they write it? And when did they write it? Well, that's another story. The story of the story which took place in the history of the Israelite people, when they lost everything in 587, when the Babylonians destroyed Jerusalem and took them into exile. And there was no temple, no religion, no teaching, and people were being born and growing up without the faith. And then it was that they wrote the Bible. It is a book to create and nourish the faith of the Israelite people as they experience the paganism of the Babylonian Empire and the need for them to cultivate their faith. God bless you.